My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. And today I want to continue my talk about dogs. I've been going through some pet grief myself the last few weeks, and I also have anticipatory grief because my boy Nelson, he has cancer, and he's had his third round of chemo, and he's actually doing a little bit better. But of course, I'm not out of the woods on this, and this is going to be a situation probably sooner than later. So this has been on my mind. So today I want to talk about dogs versus children in terms of parental happiness. So I want to look at some studies and some surveys, and I also want to throw in some opinion here. So let's take it from the top. Dogs are less likely to go to jail. Dogs are less likely to turn into an alcoholic or a drug addict. Dogs are less likely to support a fascist president. Dogs are less likely to drop out of school. Dogs are less likely to ask you for money when they're about 35 years old. And dogs are much less likely to cramp your sex life. Okay, so let's get to the real stuff. Number one. 85% of dog owners think of their dog as their child. And so obviously I'm a dog lover. So I think this is actually a good thing. So when we want to compare dogs to children, I do think it's a viable thing to really take a look at. Now, 41% of respondents in one survey think of their dog before anyone else after a stressful day. 41% is a lot, but it's not more than 50%. However, only 19% of the respondents said that they think of their partner first after a long, stressful day. So more than twice the amount of people look forward to seeing their dog after a stressful day than they do their partner. So I think you know where I'm leading here in terms of dog versus children, in terms of parental happiness. It says 43% of Americans prefer their pets over their children. And that's of the ones who feel okay to say it out loud. Because it's interesting, when you look at the numbers in terms of parental happiness, parents tend to say that they were happier when they were going through the dating stage, the honeymoon stage, the being married together for a while before they had the kids. And then there's a lull in their happiness for years when they have children. And then when the children leave, there's an uptick in their happiness. So when you look at it, parents tend to be happy before having kids and when the kids leave. But if you ask the same parents about their children, that it's rare if they're ever going to say that their children actually were a net negative in their life. They're not going to say it out loud. But it's depending on how you ask the question, you're going to get an answer that usually moves towards people saying that overall happiness is created more by a dog than a child. Now let's look at Google searches. I want to look at this Google search about a dog's happiness versus their child's happiness. And there's a 451% higher Google search for people wanting to know how to keep their dogs happy than their child's. Now, I don't know if you could really say that this is a good way to judge this, because I don't know if people would Google how to make my child happy or is my child happy. I don't know if they would actually Google that, but I like that people are interested in Googling how to make their dog happy or how to figure out if their dog's happy. Now, surveys indicate that couples are more likely to be happier with a dog than those couples without dogs. So that doesn't compare to a child yet, but we can. Because surveys also indicate that couples without children are happier than those with children. So the common denominator here, or the conclusion is that, again, having a pet in the family is more likely to create happiness than a child. Interesting. Now, obviously, dogs cost less money. They are less stressful. They are more unconditional. You know, all these things that dog owners already know. So what's the big conclusion here? Dogs and children can bring happiness to parents, obviously. But overall, dogs have a more consistent positive impact on happiness than children do. And parents have a higher level of well-being before they have kids. And again, they have a higher level of well-being when the kids move out. So I'm not saying don't have kids, but what I am saying is that for dog owners out there that obviously, you know, if you have a dog, what's going to happen is you're going to lose that dog one day, right? So we have years, hopefully, a lot of years of happiness, and then it's going to come crashing down really, really hard. And you're going to feel bad about that. You might, I mean, obviously you feel bad about it, but I mean, you're going to feel bad about society telling you that it's only a dog. And so I want you to know, when we look at real surveys and we look at some data here, you'll find that over and over and over again, people will admit that dogs do create more happiness than children do. But if you ask them outright and you're right in front of them, they're never going to say that they didn't want to have their kids, right? So hopefully this has been beneficial to you in some way. Hopefully it makes you less guilty if you're going through grief at this point, you know, about a dog or a pet. My name is Joe Peroni. This is the Rise Above Project. Please subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you.